Yo,
Okay.
what is up? Welcome to another episode of Rasslin with Ryan. And today, what are we talking about, Mike?
Well, as soon as I can get my camera straight,
Yeah, you
go.
get yourself straightened out over there.
All right. Oh, whoa. What's going on here? I
Why you
should have
messing,
figured this
why you
out way
messing with the
before.
camera, bro?
I should have figured this out way
Where's
before.
Stu? Where's Stu when you need him?
All right. Take two. Okay. All right. Today on Wrestling with Ryan, we are talking about our greatest top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time.
Yeet.
Yee. All right, since it is tis the season for WrestleMania, even though many online are saying this is the wackest build for WrestleMania. Shut up.
There's been worse, way
There has
worse.
been way worse. There has been. They forget about the most stupendous WrestleMania in Dallas or any one of Vince's WrestleManias before?
The early WrestleManias.
Exactly. But today we are talking about our top 10 WrestleMania matches. But before
Yes. Should we
we had
start?
another John Cena promo on Monday Night Raw. Midday Night Raw. What do you think?
Well, I liked it. I mean, that was the best part of the show because Raw was kind of mid today. I think this was the worst episode of Raw since they've been on Netflix. Like
Yeah,
the I don't know the ending with the Judgment Day. I didn't like that. I felt like that was unnecessary. I did like the Cena promo, and I like how he says, "I will retire as the last real champion in WWE." But once again, Triple H wants to protect his shiny new toy, Cody Rhodes, from getting absolutely buried and verbally murdered on live television from the greatest of all time, John Cena.
hey, Cody offered to tangle it up with John Cena. He walked away.
Because John Cena is being a total heel, and he did the opposite of what we all wanted. We all wanted to see them fight.
Fair
But
enough.
hopefully next week in London, I think John Cena is going to get an overwhelmingly positive babyface reaction in London because you know two of his biggest returns have been in London, and the London crowd is like super hyped up. So it'll be interesting to see the reactions for both men next week. But I hope next week is the time we get Cena and Cody actually exchanging words and not just one person talking.
Exactly. Well, we'll see how next week goes. The WrestleMania build, yeah, it's a little mid right now, but you know what?
But
We'll have
right
3 weeks
now
to go.
right now the highlight is Cena and Rhodes. That is the highlight right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it really is, to be honest. But we
The
are
gold
talking about
standard,
all
like
highlights.
always.
Yeah. But we're talking about all highlights tonight. And Brian, we can go ahead and start with your top 10 WrestleMania match of all time.
For sure. All right, I'm gonna go down from 10 to 1.
Okay?
So my number 10, I have CM Punk versus The Undertaker from WrestleMania
Hmm.
29. CM
Interesting.
Punk's last WrestleMania
Hmm.
from
Wow.
12 years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
And
interesting.
And 12 years later, CM Punk's going to be competing in his first WrestleMania since. But honestly, like the build for this match was great. Punk really brought out the best of The Undertaker. This is probably The Undertaker's last great match
Yeah.
of of his later years.
Hmm.
The build was great. The crowd was into it. There was a lot of near falls. It looked like Punk might actually be the one to break the streak. So I loved that match, and that's my number 10.
Wow. This is the match I actually forgot about. That match. I remember Punk being kind of upset that he was in this match with The Undertaker because he wanted
Because
to be.
yeah, this was the one where he felt he deserved to be in the main event for the WWE Championship. And
Right.
that's the WrestleMania where everybody thought it should have been a triple threat with The Rock, John Cena, and CM Punk
Exactly, because Punk was champion for well over a year, so he deserved to be in
for
that.
134 days.
Right. And I think that main event between John Cena and The Rock would have been way better if you had seen Punk into that match.
Hmm
All right.
Anyway, what is your number 10?
Well, I think I am a little biased towards this match because you and I were there, but my top 10 WrestleMania match of all time is Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 39. Um, I didn't have any expectations going into this match. I know previously at the COVID WrestleMania, that was inside the Performance Center, they had a match, but those were much two different superstars at that point. Now Rhea Ripley was just becoming mommy at this point at WrestleMania 39, just developing into her own and really developed into a really huge superstar. And so those two put on an excellent match. I think probably you can argue that this match is probably the best match of their both of their careers. And so the crowd was into it. We all ate it up. Watching it on TV was just as good. And so I'm having it as my top 10, as my number 10.
Yeah, speaking of that, I actually just uh since you said WrestleMania 39, I just added one more to my list that's like an honorable mention.
Yeah, I have a couple honorable mentions, but I'll wait till the end.
Yeah, I have one. I'll probably add a couple more throughout, but yeah, like I'll save it till the end, just like you. And then my number nine, Undertaker versus HBK, WrestleMania 26, Shriek
Mm,
career.
yeah,
I definitely think this match was not as good as their WrestleMania 25 match, which I'll get to later, but it was still a tremendous match. The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels have tremendous in-ring chemistry. Whenever those two go head to head, it's going to be a classic. And I feel like this match had a lot of emotion, with it being Shawn Michaels' legendary career versus the Undertaker's undefeated WrestleMania streak. A lot of emotion. There was a couple moments where it looked like Shawn Michaels was finally going to do it, finally beat the Undertaker and end his streak. But then the Undertaker made Shawn Michaels rest in peace and ended his career. But I don't think there's any better way for Shawn Michaels to go out.
yeah, a lot of emotion in that match. And really, what people remember from that match is just, it being Shawn Michaels' final match. And to me, what I took out of that, I thought this match was gonna equal, like watching it when I did live back then, I thought, oh my God, here we go. We're gonna get another great classic. I'm not sure if Undertaker actually did hurt his knee or if it was a kayfabe injury in the match. But early in the match, Undertaker hurts his knee. I think that kind of took a lot of that out of that match. And so, still a great match, still a lot of great emotion and a lot of near falls. But yeah, I enjoyed it, but not clearly not as great as their WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
Mhm.
and going into my number eight, I'm going into one of the earlier.
Whoa, you're number eight. My number nine.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're number nine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead
Your
of myself.
shoe.
Sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Yeah, you are. All right, my number nine is from WrestleMania 21. It is Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels.
Ooh, I have that on my list, but it's higher.
Wow. Yeah,
Higher.
what an incredible match these two put on. I think when you talk about dream matches, these two at this point had never wrestled. They never wrestled each other. Kurt was always on SmackDown. Shawn was always on Raw. And, by the time Shawn Michaels came back in 2002, they already had the brand split and they had never wrestled each other. And so the the seed for this match started at the Royal Rumble where Kurt eliminated Shawn and then you get the infamous build of where you get sexy Kurt. And
Was
so
was was Kurt the heel and Shawn the babyface, or
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you've never seen Sexy Kurt before, I highly recommend you
I'm just
watch
a
it on.
sexy Kurt,
Yeah.
sexy Kurt,
I'll make your ankle hurt.
ankle hurt.
This is where you get sensational Sherry back on television, probably for the last time, I think. Yeah. And so, that WrestleMania 21 match is just, my God, beautiful wrestling, such
That
athleticism between these
Yeah,
two.
that is two pure in-ring technicians at its finest.
Exactly. And the end of the match where Kurt Angle just has Shawn Michaels in the ankle lock.
For what feels like forever.
It does. And Shawn Michaels is writhing in pain for about 5 minutes. He's writhing in pain and eventually taps out. All right. You're number
Yes.
eight.
All right, my number eight. I'm going to one of the early WrestleManias. It's the only match I have from like the early WrestleManias, but it's such a great match. And at its time, it was considered the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. It's Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man from WrestleMania 3 for
Mm,
the Intercontinental Championship.
okay, nice. Yeah, I have that on my list too, but it's much higher.
I think the reason it's not that much higher for me is just because like again it's like one of those older WrestleManias and like I said I've seen all the WrestleManias but I feel like just for me like the era I grew up in I'm more used to like the more modern
Mhm.
WrestleManias and like kind of a lot of the early WrestleManias not there's not really a lot that sticks out but like
Yeah.
Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man was definitely one of the highlights from the early WrestleManias
Actually,
or
I'm looking at my list here.
the best to do it.
Oh no, sorry. I have another match ahead of it. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, you're number eight.
My number eight is from WrestleMania 10. It is Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in a ladder match for the undisputed Intercontinental Championship.
Totally forgot about that match, so I'm
You youngin,
actually going to throw it into my honorable mentions now.
you youngin. The Intercontinental Championship was split into two because Shawn Michaels, I'm not sure the reason why he went off television, but he was Intercontinental Champion. Trying to think of the reason why he was off television. But they ended up giving Razor Ramon the Intercontinental title, and then Shawn Michaels comes back onto television, wearing the Intercontinental Championship as well. And so you had two Intercontinental champions. So that's why in that match you have two Intercontinental championships hanging up from the ring above. And so a classic match. I think this was one of the first ladder matches in WWE history. There's probably a little bit, more that we probably just don't recognize, but really the first to set up the ladder match into what we think of it today. And those two are just they're the founding fathers of what current wrestling matches are in WWE.
Yeah, 'cause they were the first ever ladder match, and
Mm,
man, what a way to debut the ladder match.
exactly. Yeah,
You could argue it's still the greatest ladder match of all time.
exactly. Yeah, no, definitely.
So, all right, so that's your number eight. What are we on now? Number seven.
Hmm.
My number seven from last year's WrestleMania, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes.
Wow.
And I have this one specifically one just because the build of the match and the the added stipulation of bloodline rules and we saw the bloodline got involved. But then the last 5 minutes was what I consider the greatest 5 minutes in the history of professional wrestling. We saw the GOAT John Cena come out, The Rock came out, Seth Rollins came out in the old Shield gear, and then The Undertaker came out, and Roman, after so many years of, having the Shield breakup on his mind, he finally got his revenge and hit Seth with the chair in the back, and it ended up costing him. And Cody Rhodes finally finished the story, and that story will end at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. But But yeah, I have it there. I think it was, a great match. It definitely one of Roman's better matches and, it really helped Cody solidify his main event spot.
Wow. Okay. Well, look at that is a match I have much higher on my list. Okay, but we'll get to that a little bit. That match, obviously incredible. My next match, I think we just talked about it. Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. You talk about, Macho Man just being a tremendous performer, Ricky Steamboat being another tremendous performer. Those two in their primes put on an absolute classic for the Intercontinental Championship at the
Yeah.
time. And at a time where the Intercontinental Championship was regarded as high as the
The
WWE
WWE
Championship.
champion. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And that was a time too where like for the longest time in the very early years of WrestleMania, people consider that the greatest WrestleMania match of all time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, two workhorses just putting it on.
An absolute clinic and yeah, that's classic wrestling at its finest.
Exactly.
All
All
right.
right, what's your next?
My number six. You may disagree with this one a little bit here, but I have The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 17.
Number six? What is
Yeah.
wrong with you? End this podcast right now. End
No,
this podcast right now.
no. When I get to my top
Oh
one,
my God.
I think it'll justify. I think it'll be justified.
John Cena versus The Miz, number one.
No, no. I have this one because out of their WrestleMania trilogy, I feel like this one was their best match, the most impactful with the build. This is when Stone Cold was like reaching the peak of his like, you know, stardom, and this is when Stone Cold kind of became like the face of the company. And this match was just like it had everything you could imagine, and those two put on classics, but I feel like this was by far their best of their WrestleMania trilogy.
Definitely was. And it is not, it's, you can't, I can't believe you didn't put it in your top five. Get out of here.
When I get to my top five, it'll be justified.
Okay. What happened here? Oh, I dropped something. Put some
All right,
sunglasses
what is your number six?
to go back onto my list here.
What is your god awful number six?
My god awful number six is
Antina winning the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal.
Santina Morella winning Miss WrestleMania. I'm joking.
No.
All right. My number six.
I was about to say you'd have a real problem on your hands if you actually had
Yes,
that in your
exactly.
list.
All right, my number six is from WrestleMania 16. It is a triangle ladder match between the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian.
Oh yeah.
So technically not considered TLC, but really was the first TLC because so many tremendous spots in that match and really
Yeah.
set the
Oh
tag
yeah.
team division
It
ablaze.
yeah. It's because at the time they didn't advertise it as a TLC
Yeah, so they
until
advertised it a
until
couple.
later on
Yeah,
they actually referred to it as the official first TLC match. But
right.
it
So
wasn't
this was
until
billed
later.
as right
Yeah.
as a triangle ladder match. And so um obviously the big spot that everyone remembers is Jeff Hardy giving Bubba Ray Dudley the swanton off the huge ladder in the aisleway. That match was at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim. So you see the Ducks logo in the back.
Didn't didn't Edge also spear Jeff Hardy off the ladder in that one?
That was the next year
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
when it was officially
They ran
TLC.
it back. Yeah, they ran it back.
Yeah, but tremendous match. I mean, you go look at that match and just my God, those guys put their bodies on the line during that match. And then in every other match that they did too. So every other TLC match, they put their bodies on
Yeah.
the line. But this was
And
the
and
first one.
and, and that's one of the few multi-man tag team matches that was actually like, you
Hmm.
know, a WrestleMania like classic. Because usually it's like the multi-man matches are kind of they're more filler. But no, that match was definitely like that. That set a high standard for like
Exactly.
tag team wrestling as a whole.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, my
Yeah.
number five from WrestleMania 20. He who shall not be named,
You think
aka Chris Benoit, versus Triple H versus HBK.
you think that's a better match than Rock versus Austin?
Yes.
How?
The emotions behind Chris Benoit winning his first ever world championship in the WWE.
Yeah,
His
the end was
his
okay,
first and only world championship.
but you can't say that that match was wow. I don't even know what to be. You're gonna give me a stroke. If you had this list, your list online, people would be all over it.
So you don't think this is a top 10 WrestleMania
I
match?
don't. I don't. And I watched WrestleMania 20 live on pay-per-view. It was good. I like the match, but I don't think it's like top worthy, top 10 worthy.
Well, it's my list, it's not yours.
I had the cool DVD cover. It was like it was really cool. Like I don't know even how to describe it. Aluminum or like whatever. I had the DVD. It was like a thick three DVD case set. It was really cool. I liked it. I liked WrestleMania 20. People give a shit, but not top 10.
Where's my list?
Here's your list.
What is your number five?
My number five comes from WrestleMania 13. It is the I Quit match between Bret the Hitman Hart versus, no, sorry, submission match, not an I Quit match.
Yeah,
Submission match between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was the second match of their feud. The first match was at Survivor Series, tremendous match, but this really, I think this was one of the founding fathers of the Attitude Era because
the famous double turn.
the double turn. Right. So Brett coming in was supposed to be the baby face, and Austin coming in was supposed to be the heel. But you listen to the reactions when they come out. Austin gets in Chicago. We all know how that Chicago crowd is. Austin gets a tremendous ovation. Brett coming out gets a little bit of booze. He still gets an ovation, but he gets a little bit of booze. But as the match happens, you start to see the shift where Austin is the babyface, the clear babyface, and Brett is the clear heel, doing heel
Very,
he's using the ring bell to bust open Austin.
very similar to the Rock and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18.
Mhm. Right. So, but Brett's doing a bunch of heel tactics during the match. Austin's a clear babyface, and then towards the end, or the finish of the match, is Brett having Austin in the sharpshooter, and Austin not giving up
Refuse, yep,
and just passing
refuse
out,
to tap out.
blood dripping down from his face. The infamous image where you see Austin hoisting himself up from the sharpshooter, blood just dripping down. It is absolute crazy to look at that, and it is a top five WrestleMania match. And I think people may not recognize this, but I think Bret Hart, and specifically this match, was one of the founding footsteps or founding fathers of the Attitude Era because this match really pushed the envelope for what wrestling was back then.
Yeah, yeah. See, I didn't even have that match in my top 10. Mostly just because like it slipped my mind. But after you saying it, like I totally agree with you. It is definitely one of the greatest matches in the history of WrestleMania. It definitely helped pave the way for the
Mhm.
future and what would become the Attitude Era. And
Yeah,
so yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
I forgot to say Ken Shamrock was a special guest referee, one of Ken Shamrock's first appearances in WWE. So there you go.
All right, my number four. Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 21. We talked about it earlier, but it's two of the very best in their primes, just going at it and, delivering a true classic, a timeless classic at that. The crowd was behind both men, and it really was back and forth. It looked like either man could get it. But towards the end, we saw Kurt Angle lock in the ankle lock for again what seemed like an eternity, and Shawn Michaels, he hung in there for as long as he could, but he eventually succumbed. But yeah, that match was a classic, and for me, that's the top five WrestleMania match of all time.
Yeah, what a classic between, like we said, two of the greatest performers in WWE history coming at coming at each other for the first time and really just putting on an epic show. All right. So my number four is coming from WrestleMania 18. The true main event of WrestleMania 18 is The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Um, Two icons in the making. You just look at that. You look at that match. What is that face?
Yeah, it was not a good wrestling match. It's just held in high regard because of the reaction from the crowd.
Right. And
But
so
the overall match sucked.
it didn't suck. I mean, it was like, okay, you look at the crowd
It
reaction for
was it
that
was
match.
not great. It was not a great match. The crowd saved.
Better than WrestleMania
Crowd saved
20
it.
main event. Better than
Hell,
Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit. Come on. People remember this match way more than that match.
because of the situation with Chris Benoit.
No. Well, maybe. But obviously people will remember this WrestleMania moment more than that. Clearly. So you had The Rock coming in as the current generation babyface of the WWF. Hulk Hogan, after 9 years away, coming back to the WWF with the NWO. Um, And it really, so Hulk Hogan is the heel in this match, but you would never know because Hulk Hogan gets cheered like it was 1985 again when he comes out, and the crowd in Toronto loves Hulk Hogan. I don't know if they still love Hulk Hogan, not like the crowd in LA, but
Just
back
like
then in 2002, they loved Hulk Hogan.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like the Iron Sheik used to say, "Fuck the Hulk Hogan."
Oh my gosh. Um, and just a tremendous ovation for both these competitors. Really, another double turn because The Rock again was doing heelish tactics. He was supposed to be the babyface, but doing heelish tactics in the match. Hogan was the clear babyface, and it really set the stage for Hollywood Rock because they booed him. They booed The Rock. So that's what, and also just a classic moment when you have those two standing in the ring with each other face to face, and the crowd is just going batshit crazy.
The crowd saves that match.
It was a
I honestly don't remember anything from that match outside of the crowd
you
reaction.
youngin.
That's it. It's not even me being a youngin. The Hulk Hogan's a terrible wrestler, and so is The Rock. You
Get
have
out
two.
of here. You're
You
just a
have
hater
two.
now
You have two in-ring wrestlers who are not that great in the ring, but they get saved by the crowd just because of the aura and energy they both give off.
because they're two of the greatest superstars of all time. Everyone's gonna
Superstars maybe, but they're terrible wrestlers.
get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, Mr. WrestleMania 20.
Better than freaking
All right, we'll
uh,
see who
better
agrees.
than Rock versus Hogan.
We'll see.
All
All right,
right. Anyways,
with that.
my number three, heading into the top three. I think you knew this was coming. You know I couldn't leave my goat out. We got John Cena versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 23 for the WWE Championship. I think this is one of the matches that helped solidify Cena as a true main eventer. And I think this match also helped showcase that, Cena actually, can go with the very best of them. He's more than just, five moves guy. Like he actually can, wrestle. He actually can be a technician when it comes to, having to step up against the biggest names to do it. And I feel like this match was great. The crowd was into it, and it was like reverse. It was Cena's the well, they were both baby faces, but like Cena was getting like the heel reaction, and Shawn Michaels was getting like the baby face reaction. But yeah, their match was great and outstanding. I definitely think it helped solidify Cena's spot as main event talent.
Certainly. I mean, Shawn Michaels was more than a proven guy at that point, a veteran, still putting on banger matches, classic matches at that point, and he really
All
helped develop Cena into
yeah,
what Cena became.
he's Mr. WrestleMania for a reason. Always
Exactly.
Shawn Michaels always stepped up at WrestleMania.
All right, we have less than 10 minutes to go, so we're gonna rapid fire
Lightning,
this. All right,
lightning.
my number
You're
three. My number three is Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. You take the entire Bloodline storyline that really saved the company the last 2 years prior to this year. You take Cody's storyline coming back to WWE from being gone into, when he went to AEW, coming back. And just really this storyline, you know, was really just the thing that made the WWE into the the global force that it is right now because you take the Vince era was dog shit, and now you're taking this Triple H era, you're taking this new direction. You have this new guy Cody Rhodes taking the company by storm. You have this storyline with Roman Reigns. It's just the forces are coming in, and it started at WrestleMania 39, and you and I were there for WrestleMania 39, and I knew Cody should have won that match, but there's a
I
reason why.
think yeah, I think everybody in the crowd wanted Cody to win that match.
Exactly. But the like you said, the WrestleMania 40 match was the payoff to a 2, 3 year storyline, a new direction in the company. You had old superstars Undertaker, Rock, John Cena, come in to give the match a little bit more spice, and you get the third best WrestleMania match of all time. All right, what's your number three?
My number two.
Or number two, sorry.
my number two. Yes, my number two. Undertaker versus Triple H inside Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28. What are you giving that look for?
It's an
What are you giving that look for?
honorable mention at best.
Are you crazy? Or are you just stupid?
It's an honorable mention at best. I mean, they had false finishes in that match. JR was on commentary.
It had the greatest kick out in the history of kickouts.
I mean,
Undertaker out
I
of,
do have to
of
give
the
you that
submission and the
that
pedigree.
super kick that Sean gave to Undertaker while turning on him at the same time was pretty great. But I don't know. I just remember Undertaker taking off his hood and looking like Chuck Liddell from UFC.
But the match was great. The crowd was into it, and like they defined it as end of an era, and it was. I really feel like that match was great. Just having two of the best go at. It definitely was an improvement from the WrestleMania 27 match. Like it truly was the end of an era, and the crowd was into it. The crowd loved it, and yeah, it was definitely one of Triple H's better showings, and it's definitely one of the Undertaker's better showings.
That's true. That's true. All right. My number two comes from WrestleMania 17. It is the peak of the Attitude Era, the greatest WrestleMania build of all time. Um, Rock versus Austin Part 2. You had the peak Stone Cold Steve Austin character. You had peak Rock. Business was never more on fire during this point, and some would say the end of the Attitude Era because after this match, Stone Cold Steve Austin turned heel, which Austin talked about should have never happened. But and he aligned himself with Vince McMahon. But yeah, it should have never happened. But you look back, the greatest promo of this match, or
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
greatest promo package. Yeah, what
promo
was it?
package came out
Limp
in this
Bizkit's
match.
My Way or the Highway.
Exactly. And
Yeah, that
the
whole
match,
oh man,
yeah,
man, they don't make promo packages like they used to.
the song just fit so perfect with that package. But the match was pretty great too. The peak of the Attitude Era. You would say some would say that it was the end of the Attitude Era, and this probably maybe the start of the Ruthless Aggression. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but definitely the end of the Attitude Era.
Yeah. All right. My number one of the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. I think this is yours too. The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, it's mine too. It's my number one.
Yeah, that match was man, that match was great. It was what like 25 minutes and like just the energy from the crowd, both men giving it their all. And keep in mind, both men are in like their 40s in this match too.
Yeah, you talk
Both
about
are
Undertaker and Shawn Michaels really just being two of the greatest performers of all time, and
yeah,
really,
it's timeless and like they feuded like way back in like the early 90s and stuff. But like even when it got all the way up to WrestleMania, like I don't think the fans expected the match to be as good as it was. Like,
no, they hadn't feuded in maybe 12 years at that point.
yeah, and honestly, because WrestleMania 25 was an okay WrestleMania, but that was by far the highlight of WrestleMania 25. Like,
Exactly.
without a shadow of a doubt, that was the that was the best match on the card that night, and it's the greatest match in the history of WrestleMania.
Undoubtedly, and it will probably never be touched. Just of the pure fact of the drama in the match, the wrestling, the superstars involved. It really should have been the main event of WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, instead of that god awful Randy Orton Triple H match.
Yeah, where he broke into his home. All right, quickly, your honorable mentions.
My honorable mentions. Okay, we have the Usos versus KO and Sami Zayn from WrestleMania 39. The crowd was hot for it. I know we loved it. Probably the greatest tag match of the last like, probably 10, 15 years,
Yep,
you know. And then I have Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns from WrestleMania 37. Because that was a great match. Three great men involved. HBK versus Razor Ramon from WrestleMania 10. Edge versus Undertaker from WrestleMania 24. Because I definitely remember that was one of the few highlights from WrestleMania 24, along with Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair. And then I have John Cena versus Triple H from WrestleMania 22 because I feel like this was like really John Cena's first true test of like, is he that guy?
Yeah, and the debut of CM Punk.
Oh yeah, because he was in that entrance as
Yeah,
one of the mafia members.
exactly.
All right, your honorable mentions, go.
I just have a few here. I don't know if you can hear that. All right, Triple H versus Batista at WrestleMania 21. What a great match that was to end WrestleMania. Um, I think the emotion in that match towards the end was tremendous. Um, Another one here people kind of forget about at WrestleMania 23, Batista versus Undertaker at
Mhm,
WrestleMania 23.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, two behemoths going at it. Undertaker was in his physical prime. Probably Batista's best match, I would say. They put on a tremendous match at WrestleMania 23. And then Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 28. They had that, like, it is your top, but uh yeah, I mean the drama in that match when Shawn Michaels gave Undertaker the super kick, and that was
sweet
probably the
chin music, sweet chin music.
exactly. And
But
Santino
for everybody
Marella
else, it's
wins Miss WrestleMania at WrestleMania 25.
oh god, Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso, WrestleMania 40, best match ever.
But you know what? Another quick one, seriously. Brett versus Owen at WrestleMania 10 to open the match, to open the show.
Brother
All
versus
right,
brother. All
exactly.
right,
Less than 30
that's it.
seconds.